What's up?
Not too much, man. Just on the backside of the moving and things like that, just kind of falling in line with getting back on track with business.
All right, so which is the big story today is now that Florida is opening up, how my biggest question is what will after the last 2 months of being quarantined, or just about 2 months, what will business look like in the near future? Will it go back to the same old thing as soon as we get back up to speed? You know how just like when the December 31st, you wild out, and then January 1st you start a beginning of saying what you're going to do, and that lasts for about all of about 35, 40 days,
Right.
and then you go back to your normal.
Yeah. You know, I think about the same thing. I don't know if we were in it long enough for it to have become a habit,
Right.
but I do think it has made. I think there's going to be plenty of companies that go back to how it was
Hmm.
because that worked for them, especially bigger companies where it's about the bottom line,
Right.
right? I think what I did see because I've been doing some interviews and things like that of small businesses.
Hmm.
What I do have seen is some of those smaller businesses that have been very reluctant with regard to marketing online and marketing via social media have
Hmm.
actually had to shift and do some of those things
Right.
because they saw immediately what it looks like to be a printing company and no one can walk into
Uh-huh.
your printing company and your whole business be based on people being in your establishment.
Hmm.
So I've seen some companies figure out how to go online and how to be more automated with regard to how they're doing business. So I've seen some strides with a lot of the smaller businesses.
Mm.
What I haven't seen a lot of is, and I could be wrong, but it may be just because I'm just working in the business space and talking with business owners. I
Hmm.
haven't seen a lot of individual people figuring out how to do the same thing that businesses were doing. I've seen some people, Mason, she's not a business, but she's taking those steps to kind of what does art class look like online?
Hmm.
Uh, I've seen artists do those things as well. Take their classes, take their resources online. I've seen performing artists like singers and guitar players. They took their resources online, but some of the regular everyday Joe type people, the ones who were wondering how to get out of their job before
Hmm.
all of this, I haven't seen a lot of them figuring out what to do if their job doesn't exist anymore or when they have to go back to that job. And that's what's been on my mind.
Preparation is everything. You have to have a certain amount of luck and an incredible amount of preparation on the back end in order to transition to anything.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't know that you're prepping, for instance, um, the lady from Wisconsin who called me and said, "Hey, I want to do a class, and I'm in Wisconsin, and I want to do it on lighting, and you're in Florida. How can we make this happen?" Which then brought me to this idea of, what if I do this with more people? And how do I do that? Well, prior to that, I had been doing Skype um, way back when I started, 15 years ago with Skype
Right.
for my remote people, but I couldn't control their screen, and which made it a little more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now with webcams and cell phones and Zoom, I could do all of that stuff.
Right.
And in fact, I've been in um, controlling a photo shoot via a phone and my computer. they have their phone. I'm a FaceTime. They're pointing it to their set. I'm giving them instructions, and they're making it happen.
Right.
So this transition for me has not been that bad. It's actually been quite easy
Mm-hmm.
to do
Mm-hmm.
the classes. In fact, you helped me with an ad that brought me in 3 people.
Really?
Yes.
Fantastic. So what about that ad do you think spoke to them?
Well, I don't know if it spoke to them in a sense of there being a specific, but it says, "Hey, you're available to do this,"
Yeah.
and because you're available to do this, uh, let's get it done.
Yeah. You,
So it was easy.
you know, and I want to come back to this part, but I've been reading this book called Story Brand, or Building the Story Brand, and it really talks about, especially for small business, getting to the problem and always talking around what the problem is for that person. And you and I, we're not the heroes for those people. They're the heroes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if they're the heroes, all heroes need a villain,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what are the things that we can villainize that's stopping them from being the hero, right? So we're the guides, you and I. They're the heroes. They need villains. So villains are things like, I'm in Pittsburgh, or what did you say she was?
Uh, um, gosh, Missouri, Minnesota,
Okay, so I'm in
Minnesota.
I'm in Minnesota,
Yes.
and you're in Florida. So the distance obviously we can't make this work, right? So
Right.
like that's a villain. Or um, right now I may just be afraid to leave my house, so I don't want to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's a villain as well. So you have to talk specifically to those things that are battling them as the hero,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then as the guide, we show them, because we've been through the experience, we show them how to defeat the villain,
Right.
right? So I
That's a
think in
great
that
analogy,
ad,
by the way.
say that one more time.
That's a great analogy.
I wish I made it up, but that's what I'm understanding from it. And it makes so much sense to me. And it actually, this last week or so, I started reading it when we were moving.
Uh-huh.
And um, when you buy the book, you get access to, all his other information. And framing it that way, it even made my business like,
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, I was like, whoa, so this is how you talk about it, right? So talk about it in these instances, from this concept of, I'm going to help you slay the dragon,
Mm-hmm.
versus I'm going to help you shoot beautiful pictures. It's like, I'm going to help you capture moments. I want to help you. You know what I mean? Like the things that they're afraid of. Like
Right.
some people may have. There's so many different scenarios. You're just helping them
Mm-hmm.
achieve, slay that dragon.
Right.
You know what I mean? Beat their demon.
And that's so important to from that perspective. It's like what's we started this thing off way back when saying what is stopping people from doing
Right.
or becoming their best self.
Right.
And it are the demons within them.
Right.
It's the people getting in their own way, saying why they can't,
Right.
rather than showing that themselves that they can. And I
Right.
think that's where we come in. We show
Right.
them where they can.
Right. And part of that too, how he approached this was, the villainizing thing was, there's an external, like what are the things externally. So the distance is the external thing for her, your
Mhm.
client. And then what are the things internally, like what am I telling myself? And then there's a philosophical, like what's the overall idea of why I'm not moving forward, why I haven't moved forward, right? It can
Right.
be sociological, it can be whatever, it could be family, whatever it is.
Hmm.
It's the overall idea of why I haven't pressed the start button yet, right? So taking us out of the position of being a hero, we're not here to save the day. We're here to to walk them through the pitfalls and you know what I mean, through the valley,
Mhm.
so that they can see the mountaintop, like you mentioned before in a
Right.
talk a long time ago. So that's what
Mhm.
we're here to do. So like thinking about it in that instance, like really just broadened my horizons over this last couple of days.
Mhm.
And so that's what you were. So going back to the ad that we were talking about of yours,
Mhm.
I remember specifically it being in there. We can do this over Zoom.
Right.
We can
Right.
do this, and this,
This.
right? And
Right.
there was no kitschy advertising talk.
No, no.
There was no college level
Mm, no.
understanding, right? It was straight up middle elementary school comprehension.
Right.
You want to shoot photos? We're
Here,
still doing it. We
here
can
we
do it
go.
over Zoom.
Let's
Right,
just come on board. Let's do it.
right. And I think that's like then once we if we're solving that problem, then we can figure out how cute it sounds
Mm,
or how kitschy it sounds or how clever it is.
mm,
But if it's not solving the problem of telling the person what it is that they you do,
mm.
what's in it for them,
Right.
and then what they're gonna walk away with, then there's just like no reason
Mm.
to do it, right? Anything else is kind of like you're trying shit out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Right? So that's why I asked what about that what about that ad do you think was kind of drew them in? Because I was just curious to see if we were in painting the same type of picture that I had been reading about.
Yeah. Well, um, I the first one is okay. I know of you, and it's timely that you are offering these Zoom classes because I've been waiting to push the button, and now have all this free time,
Right,
and so now I'm doing it.
right, right. And people are going to continue to have the free time too. Like even though
Yeah.
they're opening things up, there are extremes. There are people who are angry
Hmm.
that they had to be inside and they're mad at the government, so they're ready. And then there's the ones who are like really afraid, who are gonna just continue for a little while longer. And then it's the ones in the middle. I'm kind of in the middle where I'm just like, I'm not upset that I have to be inside, but at the same time, um, I don't want to live my life
Hmm.
like underneath my covers, afraid to go outside. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
to even talk to people. So moving gingerly or like at a pace where it makes sense, and then being respectful of other people as well in the process,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
um yeah, so thank you for bringing that up because that actually really made me think about that book. If you want, I'll send you a link to it. You can check it out.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
love to.
I have the
It's an
framework.
audio book, right?
It's an audio book. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You know me.
yeah,
Sit down and read something. It
yeah.
takes forever for me.
Well, me too, me
Yeah.
too. And you know what's funny about it is every chapter is the framework.
Hmm.
So like you read a chapter and then you like just go do the framework. You just kind of walk your own business through the framework to make sure that you're doing that for your clients, right? So even though you have an understanding of what it is that you do and you're really, really good at what you do, it may be helpful to say, am I telling them outright what problem I'm addressing for them?
Correct. Yes.
You know what I
Yes.
mean? Even though you know you can explain that to them once they get in
Hmm.
the door, is your marketing, is your website, is anything that you have that they can go to tell them how to buy, is it explaining to them what it is that you do, what it is, what's in it for them, and
Hmm.
then what they're walking away with. And if not, then we should just change all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
That's a great way to look at it. And I look forward to getting that link soon at some point.
yeah, definitely.
And so, what else has been on your mind this past week or two? We've been off for a week. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't record last week. I think what else has been on my mind is really being
Oh, before we say that,
what's that?
I had my first video health recording
Oh, with the doctor.
with a doctor.
Okay. How was that?
That was interesting.
Like, did you have to like touch yourself and tell him what you felt? Did you have to turn your own head and cough, or how did that go?
It was a prostate exam. So
Mm, that
no,
was hard to do by yourself.
no, I found it quite interesting. The setup, the fact that my doctor is right there, widescreen, talking to me,
Right,
and in fact, I was closer to her on the video than I was, actually being there.
right.
But the thing about it was, all of the questions that she would have asked me while I was there, physically, she asked me via video, and
Yeah.
I was able to explain it. And I was also able to have Kim in the background,
Uh,
just reminding me of some of the things that I was supposed to talk to the doctor about.
right, right.
So it made it a lot less stressful via video than actually being there.
Okay.
So
That's
uh,
interesting.
that's my first telemedicine encounter.
Telemedic encounter.
Yeah,
I don't even know if that's a real word, but we're just gonna run with that right now.
yeah, there you go. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out because all of this is due to the coronavirus thing.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely has, like I say, for some people, it's made them change how they're operating, and it's I think it's kind of just opening the door a little bit to how we can make allowances in certain spaces. So if I can't get to you, I can get to you now.
Right,
And
correct.
and some doctor visit checkups, do they all have to be? Do I have to drive across town to tell you that I'm sick, or to get
Mhm.
to get my to get readings on my X-rays or whatever? Do I have
Mhm.
to drive across town to have that done? I could just do it. Can we do it this way?
Right, right.
It's kind of answering a lot of questions. I know some restaurants here in town, they've actually been more busy. Even the restaurants that weren't as busy
Hmm.
before, they've been more busy because people can stop in, pick up the food, and go back home.
Oh, you know that there was a radio personality who was talking about a particular business down in St. Pete,
Hmm.
and it dealt with crab legs and such. And he said on the air, he said, I can't mention the name of the place. Said, I'm going to tell you the place is, it's got great service. I commend the people that are on the front lines, serving me this food, but I can't mention the place of it because there's already a damn long line around the corner just to get, go through the drive-through.
Right, right.
He says, if I mention this now I won't be able to get there.
That's right.
So I thought that
Yeah.
was interesting.
You know what though? The tricky thing is, I heard from one restaurant owner, even though this has been better for them, they still couldn't operate like this long term because they don't have the infrastructure in their kitchen
Right. Yes.
to operate long full term.
Mm.
To be like a primarily takeout place. They don't have enough space to be able to prepare food for people sitting in and for people taking out at that capacity.
Well, I heard via the news about, I guess, about 4 or 5 months ago with this restaurant in New York. It's a little small place. Is that they could not serve the food to all the people, that wanted to get through the door. And I mean, it was such a small place, so they
Right.
so they converted their place to just to a drive-through, and business went sky high.
Right. Right. No, those stories are really interesting because they would have never done it under any other circumstances.
Yeah, right,
Right. They wouldn't have even entertained the idea.
correct.
Right. And I think, when you ask what I've other things that I've been kind of just like throwing around is what other ideas are there, even growing my business, and it really like what other things can I offer?
Hmm.
Um, working with certain tools that I've been working with to kind of get my own thing, my own processes up and running.
Hmm.
Being able to, can I package these things and just mark them up a little bit and say, hey, here's what it's going to take for you to get started online. Here's your little package. You don't have to worry about scouring the internet for the right microphone, the right this. Like, can I box these things together for them, or have some affiliate program with these gadget and device companies and say, hey, I want to send people your way for, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
How do I do the work for them, take some of that ease and heartache away, or over being them being overwhelmed through the process, and say, here's
Right.
everything you need to get this started.
Right. And usually when people have everything they need to get started and they learn how to use it, then from there they branch out and customize to whatever their needs are based on their experience at over time.
Right. Because then you understand, once you understand what to do with it, then you know that this isn't the right thing for me, or I don't really like this setup, or
Hmm.
I can do this a little better, or I really want to just step it up and just go from my cell phone to a DSLR,
Hmm.
right? So,
Right.
or maybe my DSLR isn't the right quality for me, and I just want to go all the way to a straight um, a video camera, right? So,
Hmm.
like starting them in a place, and that's a lot of I think importance and things I've been thinking about, and it's been presented to me over the last couple of weeks, is that my clients are understanding how to do these things,
Hmm.
or they're understanding why they should be doing them. It's still overwhelming for them to do it,
Sure.
so they need prompts. They need uh, if this, do this, right?
Hmm.
They need step one, step two, step three, step four, step five. They still need, inside the overall concept, they still need another process of how to break down these pieces. So it's not just social media. It's we're focusing on one thing at a time. How to
Hmm.
tell a great story, and then document that story, and then we figure out how to put it out. So it really still is distilling, and breaking it down for them, and figuring out easier ways to get them to understand that there is some work that has to be done, but it's not. You don't have to pull your hair out and scratch your eyes out about it.
Hmm. Well, on my end, sometimes when I have people who run into roadblocks and they just simply don't want to do something, they'll learn something. For instance, they'll learn about how the camera operates, the different lenses, and how to shoot a picture.
Right.
But they just do not like the editing portion of it.
Right.
And on those instances, just talking about offering services
Mm-hmm.
to benefit them, one of the things I do is I will take that particular portion of it and do it for them, not in the absence of them, but in the presence of them.
Right.
And so that they're seeing how it's done. They're seeing how it's uh, the mystery of it has been taken out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and they see a process. And eventually, and this has happened several times, eventually they come back and take it over.
Right.
But I always do it in the form of a class time,
Right.
so that even though I may be doing it with them, it's not going against them. I'm not charging them any more
Mm-hmm.
to do it because I'm going to be there for their amount of time, a lot amount of time, regardless.
Right.
But each time I do that, I find that you talk about the what was the term, the dragon or the villain.
The villain.
The
Yeah.
villain, yeah, the villain. The villain is that they're afraid of certain aspects of the process,
Right.
and by being afraid of it, me telling them how to do it, showing them how to do it, uh, sometimes it's not going to be enough. But when they're with me, doing it with me, it takes that sting out of it, and every single time they take over.
That's that guide versus the hero.
Yeah.
And that's why I love that concept so much. I can't really wait to keep diving into the mindset of what that actually means. Um, it does make me think about, you and I talked about a couple weeks ago um, like our business is not ain't gonna make $1 million because we're not doing $1 million type of activity, right?
Correct. That's correct.
How does that get done? How do we provide a service that's primarily almost a one-on-one situation and scale that to? Because I think that's the thing that I'm interested in. I think it's the thing that a lot of people are interested in is how do you grow to where you can still have a customized solution for people and be able to serve more people and not burn out at the same time.
Well, the last part is vitally important, the burnout part. And I oftentimes people will tell me, and I think you've mentioned it as well. You can get a lot more people in here and grow your business. And I say, well, if I grow my business, that means I won't have the time to do what it is that I need to do on the back end that actually keeps me going.
Right.
And I've often said that spending times with the family is very important to me. By
Mm-hmm.
growing the business, that takes away from that time with the family. And I don't want to be like those politicians that whenever they are dismissed, the reason why they're dismissed is say that they want to go spend time with the family. I want to spend time with the family before I get dismissed.
Right.
But
Exactly.
anyway, um, what I'm leading up to is this: we are in the field of art,
Mm-hmm.
and art does not um, conform itself to the mass populace. We are only actually a small segment of this population.
Mm-hmm.
And to get people interested in art in the level that we are proposing, it's still going to be a small segment of people. And to scale that up, um, I think I don't know. No, I don't know how to do it. I see these guys, these YouTubers, and my hats off to them. I mean, they spend an enormous amount of time editing video, putting it together so that they can reach the world.
Yeah.
And they are relying on the contributions from around the world. But I would imagine that just based on what we've done, is uh, the amount of pressure behind that is no different than Hollywood.
No.
I mean, you
There's a
know,
lot.
you got to produce content all the time,
Right.
and and how do you continue to do that? Whereas what we do, you and I, and I'm not making excuses for it, is that we are based on our whole business is based on us getting new people and then working with those new people one on one and growing them in a small scale. And by scaling it up, I'm just not sure if I can pull any more hair out of my head, and I'm absolutely sure you can't pull any out of yours.
I could grow it a little bit, but I won't be interested in pulling it out at that point.
So so I'm not so sure if we're not in what is known as a sweet spot for where we want to be
Right.
for what we do.
Right.
Now, in order to grow $1 million, yeah, we can go online and tell people um, how they can make millions of bucks, in 6 months, and then sell them a package.
Right.
But I don't think that you and I even remotely have that interest. I think that what we both do enjoy, and I don't mean to speak for you, and I'm not trying to speak for you, is the relationships that we build.
I love that 100%. Period. That's
Yeah,
like that is the reason why I like doing what I like what I'm doing. And I like seeing my clients go the light turn on
oh
and
yeah.
they realize, oh shit, I can do this, or I am this, or I am moving this direction. Watching them, I think it's harder to hold on to something than it is to, because you have to really focus on that, right?
Mhm.
And it's harder to hold on than it is to let go, and to watch them let go of things that they stacked on top of themselves, or their families
Mhm.
have put on themselves, or
Mhm.
so society has put on themselves,
Mhm.
put onto them, and then watching them kind of just let those things go so they can move into who they actually want to be
Yes.
blows my mind every time, right? And you are right. I don't want to spend the time to produce a webinar to sell to somebody.
Hmm.
However, I would spend the time to have a retreat and have people come
Oh, sure, sure,
and to get away or to hang out and to learn in the process.
100%,
Right.
100% with that.
Right. So I really think so. I think the answer in the question, how do we scale it, isn't scaling the one-on-one time.
Hmm.
It's finding other ways to have different interactions with people that are um, still intimate
Hmm.
and that require different types of engagement.
I agree 100%. Um, Yesterday, I had one of my most proudest moments.
How so?
I was doing a Zoom session
Mm-hmm.
with a lady that I've been with for about almost a year now,
Okay.
and she had a problem, and it had to do with editing, cataloging, and all of this kind of stuff.
Right.
And yesterday, she was a little bit frustrated, and told her, I said, in the beginning of the session, I said, look, in the beginning of the session, I always ask people to provide me with questions um, that's on their mind, and it doesn't matter what it is, just 2 or 3 questions to get us started. And that way, if I can get those questions out of the way, it'll free their mind up in order to accept the lesson that I'm about to give them.
Right.
And usually the lessons are based on what it is they tell me that they're having a problem with. But yesterday in this particular session, once I found out what the problem was with the person, I said to them immediately, I said, at the end of this, you are going to thank me 100 million times that my ego is going to be so big that I can't walk out of this office and then back into my home. I said, I'm telling you this before I give you the answer. And then I broke the answer down to her own environment.
Right.
If you're in your home, look around. Let's use these items that are in your home in
Right.
order to understand this process. At that point, she's like, oh, oh, whoa, man, you are the great. I said, you don't do that yet because we're not finished yet. You don't start with the accolades yet. And by the time we finished, man, it was like you could see all the bricks and all the cinder blocks leave her shoulders.
Right.
And it was such a great moment to see that in a person who had been struggling with something for a long time, but didn't
Mm-hmm.
quite know how to ask or how to ask for the help.
And that's it. It's beautiful, and I would imagine it makes you feel really, really good. And that's where the reward for you as an instructor, you as a mentor, teacher comes from, right? When they actually get it.
Oh, and that is such a great thing. And
Yeah.
I imagine on your end is that when someone finds out, wait a minute, if I do what Brian say to do this one little step, he gave me 7, but if I do this one, I start off with this one, and by golly, I see a result. Oh my God, I'm going to do the second one, and then the third one. The fourth one may fall flat, but the first 3 are a far advancement than where I was prior to this
Mm-hmm.
this interaction with Brian. So yes, those moments are great. They're special, and I live for them. But you made an interesting point, and we're not reinventing the wheel here. Is that having that retreat, having that place, twice a year or quarterly, where people can come and get a taste of Brian and get the philosophy and the idea of what Brian is all about, and then take those pieces back to where they are, where they came from, the people where they came from, implement them, tell their friends about it, and then grow the retreat. Yes, I can see that.
Yeah. And that's where I think you get the most out of a person right? Out of myself, out of the people that we're helping, is when they discover what it is that they want to be doing.
Yes.
And it is so amazing to me that I'm doing this specific type of work because this was so out of my realm
Hmm.
leading up to this point, right? I never would have thought that at this point I would be I would be guiding someone through a process to help find who they actually are, right? And so that we can start telling people about them,
Hmm.
right? So there still is marketing in there, but it's self discovery first, right? And it is this idea of getting them ready, preparing them to get ready to start telling the world about their business,
Hmm.
right? So there's a lot of discovery that goes on in there, and that part of it, the telling the world about the business part, that's how I was trained at
Hmm.
the creative circus
Right.
and all those things. But the discovery part of a person, I had zero idea that work was interesting to me and like really fulfilling. And I can just go and go and go. So those engagements, I wouldn't really want to have a scenario where there's no engagement with the person,
Hmm.
and at least in this instance, or on a one-on-one face-to-face type scenario, or in a room with people, um, helping them discover who they actually are. I can't really understand a scenario like that. So it this framework may not be set up for me to make millions of dollars. But
Uh-huh.
then it's like, what are the other things that we can possibly be doing that we want to do, that we're passionate about, or that we're excited about, that can keep maintaining uh some of that income level? Because I think that income level just helps with the what was the word I was using this morning, that leisure time.
Hmm.
Sometimes I like to have that leisure time of just sitting and looking out the window, and that that comes at a cost, right? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
to
Yeah.
be able to afford to sit here and look at the window, you have to have everything else taken care of,
Correct. Yes.
right? Uh, so what's the cost of being able to sit and drink a beer and look out of the window? And that is me figuring out, and us figuring out, what are the other things that we can actually be doing that isn't really tapping into that finite energy that we have, and it's just going in the day of the life of everything else that we have going on, but can be positioned as a different engagement for other people.
Mhm. Yeah. I employ us both to seek uh that solution
Yeah,
so that we can both sit by the window, sip a beer, and not have to worry about the bills.
that's right. So we can earn our leisure, right?
Right. That's it.
Right.
And what you're saying is so true. That the things that we take for granted, that it's going to be there, in order for us to sit and look out the window and be at peace, you have to have things already taken care of.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I never thought about that like that, but yes, you're absolutely correct on it.
Side note:
Hmm.
have you heard of Facebook Marketplace?
Yes.
Have you involved yourself in Facebook Marketplace?
I bought something from Facebook Marketplace.
Okay, so I I've only gone there and looked, and I've been like, yeah, okay, whatever, move on. Uh, in the move, I acquired a couple of pieces from a teacher of mine who is not able to use them anymore,
Hmm.
and from disability reasons.
Hmm.
So they were given to me, and I was like, I don't have the room for them. I didn't have the room for them then, so I put them on Facebook Market,
Uh-huh.
and I sold them.
Hmm.
And I was like, I can't believe I didn't do this earlier. right? Because you always run into random things sometimes that you don't need, but other people may, right?
Hmm.
So then I started to try to think, what's the problem here, right? Like, what are the things that people actually are going to be basically looking for? And everything that I sold was a tool
Hmm.
or a gadget of some sort, right? So thinking about every now and again when I'm out, just keeping my car clean enough to where I could put stuff in the trunk,
Hmm.
and then that may be of interest to somebody else, and just put that thing online because I made enough, made enough money. I think I made like $600 over the weekend,
Oh, wow.
right? And I was like, that could be just like beginner's luck or some kind of fluke.
Uh-huh.
But I did take the time to kind of investigate what the things were and put right descriptions in there. And, I wrote headline copy and stuff like that to
Hmm.
kind of, but so I took the time. I took nice photos. So it wasn't just like, here's the thing and the shitty lighting. I put it out. I took different angles. If it had some of the things that are so brand new, they still had the instruction manuals with them
Hmm.
and the price tag on them. So I took pictures of the price tag and took, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
and I it got to the point where I got so distracted by doing that. Everybody else was moving my house and I wasn't because I was literally negotiating with people. And I had my phone, I'm like,
Right.
and talking to like 20 people, like, is this still available? And I'm like, it is, but there's somebody here to pick it up. If they pass on it, I will reach back out to you. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Like, so doing that for like an hour. And
Right.
while I'm moving, I had between Thursday and Saturday, I sold $600 worth of stuff. So I was like, I can do that every now and again.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I could do enough of that to pay for whatever things the girls need or,
Right.
pay for leisurely things. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it was like, it just kind of opened up a mindset of like, that really didn't take a lot of time. I think some of the time is finding the things of value. And
Hmm.
then once it's posted, it's just there for people to kind of figure out if they want it or not.
Hmm.
So that was an interesting thing that happened this weekend. I was like, man, I just did something I'd never done before, and I learned it on the fly because I just need to get it out. I didn't want to transport it from one house to the next and then
Right.
figure out what to do with it.
Uh-huh.
So before I even left that house, it was sold.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah,
It's always a good feeling when you sell something and something you're gonna throw away or get rid of, give away, and then somebody comes along and they buy it. Woo.
right,
And now
right,
I have more beer money.
right. I did have more leisure money, and I was like, that's what it is about. It really is positioning yourself to be able to sit here and stare out the window and
Hmm.
not have to worry about anything else.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's the moral of the story today.
Yeah. So on that note, Ron DeSantis has opened up Florida,
Yes, this is true.
and at some point I'm gonna go to the beach,
I think you should.
and I haven't been in a while, so I'm gonna go to the beach.
Yeah.
And I always social distance. I never really get involved with people at the beach. I just like the fact that it's there.
Yeah. I like to, I go to the beach I go to swim and to watch people walk by.
And I like it at the beach. I like the fact that sharks have been social distancing for a long time from me. Um, but having said that, I think I really want to go to the beach. So there you go.
I think
That's
you should
my
go to the
leisure time.
beach. I
That's my
think you should go.
yeah.
And let me know which beach you go to. Maybe we can stand 10 feet apart and wave at each other.
Uh, being black man, we've had to stand 10 feet apart anyway. Otherwise, it's a conspiracy, and
It's a conspiracy.
we're waiting to do some kind of trouble or harm.
What
So
what are they plotting up?
right. So
Oh man, I can't wait until we can uh spend time face to face again. I do miss that,
yeah, yeah.
and I think as long as we do it with some intelligence and some actual thought to it, I think we don't really shouldn't really worry too much about the outcome. I think
Right, right.
you know what I mean.
Hmm.
So I think this exposed a lot of things. Washing your hands, like just wash your hands.
Oh yeah, I got tons of sanitizer here. I mean,
Right.
tons. So it's all good.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Thanks for joining me this morning.
All right. You are so welcome. Thank you for talking to me. And
Absolutely.
let's wrap up another week and see what happens.
That's right. Man, I just thank everybody who keeps watching this stuff because people still keep watching it, even with us rambling and less formatted. People are still watching, so I'm excited about that, and
Oh,
I just
that's
keep
good.
encouraging them to do so. Keep liking and sharing and commenting, and let us know how you really feel. Robert Rossi, what's
And
that
as
little thing you
always,
say? I can't ever get it right, so I'm gonna let you
no,
have that.
it's always going to be the same thing. Is that if you choose to be great or you choose to be not great, if you choose to be an artist, you choose to be a bum. No matter what you choose, you got to always stay unmanageable.
That's right.
Kind of the way it works.
That's the
So,
way of life right now.
yep.
I appreciate it, sir.
Appreciate you.
We'll talk to you in a minute.
We'll talk to you in two.
All right.